everybody. Welcome to The Wrong End of the Snake. It's a webcast about audio, touring, and the relationships we have built between our road families. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on The Wrong End of the Snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably 10 years with Linkin Park. My co-host, Kevin Tater McCarthy, is a world-class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend and partner. He has 8 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Mixer of the Year awards. I'm Ken Van Druten, aka Pooch. I am a front house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy-nominated recording engineer, and I have 8 Top Dog Front House Engineer of the Year awards as well. I'm a winner of the Parnelli Front House Mixer of the Year award as well. Let's do a little housekeeping. Please use the chat window of the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves. If you're streaming from your YouTube channel, from our YouTube channel, and you want to be able to ask questions of our guests, register to be on the Zoom call for future episodes. Links to register are in all of our social media. If you have any questions for our guests, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app and ask in that window. We will answer as many as possible during the hour, and then answer any leftover questions in our overtime Q&A episode that we release to YouTube channel in a few days. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media. YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Tater, why don't you introduce us to our guests this week?
All right. Today we have Adam, is currently the Director of Fan Engagement and Digital Marketing at Warner Records. Lorenzo, who is originally from Italy, is currently based in Berlin and overseeing marketing operations and special projects, specifically for the German market across Universal Music Group's international talent roster. Both of these gentlemen have overseen strategic marketing and social media for the mega band Linkin Park, as well as running their fan club, the LPU Underground, which has become a marketing model for many artists in today's online world. Let's welcome Adam and Lorenzo to
What's
The Wrong End of the
up?
Snake.
Yeah.
Hey guys, what's going on?
And the questions
Man,
are already
you know.
lighting up. We're getting them pre-show,
Heck yeah.
during show, post-show. So it's
Go.
gonna be a quick hour. We'll try to get all this in today.
Yeah, we'll try to get to as much as possible. You know, part of the thing that Tater and I love doing these things is we get to catch up with old friends and you know, talk about our relationship. That's what the whole point of this webcast is turned into. So thanks for coming, guys. And it's really great to see you. I want to give some context to the people that maybe don't know you or maybe want to learn more about you as to like where you guys came from. You know, as far as, were you musicians? How did you get into this place that you are now, these giant marketing jobs working for these huge companies? And what was your journey, maybe up until Linkin Park, and then we'll get into Linkin Park as that goes. But tell us your journey before that point. So Adam, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, about 3 hours west of Chicago, and was studying political science and realized that was probably not the future for me. Wanted to start working in music. So my dad actually found this music school up in Minnesota that was called McNally Smith. It doesn't actually exist anymore. They went bankrupt. Hooray, for-profit colleges. But anyway, I had internships there and like really hustled my way through college, like trying to build my resume as much as I could and any kind of experience I could. I was working for free for all these independent labels. I would just cold call them and say, what can I do to help? Can I help you in any way? I was running MySpace pages at the time. And so after I graduated, I had a decent resume, moved out to LA and just applied for everything. I applied for everything. And I got 2 callbacks after maybe 100, sending my resume to 100 people. One of them was Linkin Park. And
Wow.
They have a marketing company. They had a marketing company called Machine Shop. Now it's the management company, but and I got hired there to be an assistant and office manager for Jessica, who ran that, and really worked my way up from the very bottom to eventually being on tour with you fine gentlemen, and was there for about 5.5 years. And then their label, Warner, I was friends with those guys, and they just said, "Hey, you should come here." And I said, "Absolutely not. I'm not going to work at a major label. That's insane." And they convinced me, and I said, "All right, cool." So I've been at Warner about 7 years, and I still get to work with Linkin Park. So that's kind of my journey. Yeah.
That's amazing. Before we get to Lorenzo, I want to back up just a little bit because I want to know, like, when did you know that you wanted to be a part of music, whatever that was? Like when you grew up, were you like totally listening?
Yeah.
Like you were a fan of music?
Oh, yeah.
How did that all happen?
My dad was a music teacher. He taught first grade through senior high school chorus at a tiny school in Western Illinois. There was always music at our house, piano, drums. I got my first drum set when I was in third grade, bought a guitar. After I heard Brain Stew by Green Day for the first time, my mind was blown by hearing that song in 8th grade. And I bought a guitar and played in a little punk band in high school. And it was my passion. And I knew then, like, this is something I love to do. When I played in that band in high school, we were awful, by the way, but that was it for me. I knew then that like music was what I was going to do with my life. Yeah.
Every high school band is awful, by the way.
Sure. I knew quickly I wasn't going to make it as a musician, so I had to figure out another way to do it.
That's funny. You know, that is often we hear guests on Wrong End of the Snake. That is a comment that a lot of them make. Like, hey, I knew I wasn't going to be the musician, but I also knew that I wanted to be a part of, this industry. So that's awesome. Lorenzo, tell us about you.
Totally. So again, thanks for having me and Adam, guys. Really excited and good to see you. It's truly good to see all of you, although it's digital. So yeah, I mean, Tater mentioned I'm from Italy. I moved to Philadelphia when I was 11, just about to turn 12. And, my sister, who's much older than me, she was always thinking big of, I'm going to go study in Paris. I'm going to go study in America. And she sort of was down that path. And I think my parents couldn't stop her to keep doing these things. And eventually, after my sister moved to Washington, D.C., conversations started happening about, we should also move to America if possible, so Lorenzo can go to school and learn English. So, shout out to my parents for, taking the leap of faith and moving to America when I was 11. I'm so grateful, think about that every day. And so I moved to America and immediately sort of, had to make friends, learn the language, and skateboarding is how I got into music, and skateboarding is how I made my first group of friends in America. So that's really how I began liking music. And as soon as, middle school and high school was hitting, I was going to concerts all the time. And, I have this really kind of weird memory, but I was a summer camp counselor at a skateboard camp, probably in 2004 or something. So 4 years into me being in America. And that day we had this summer tour called Camplified. I don't know if that rings a bell for you two, but it was like, basically, I think Disney would send some of their early artists on tour to perform at camps. And, my boss was like, you like music. They need like extra hands to like push road cases. You should go do that. So that was like my first memory of seeing what behind the scenes putting concerts on was. So that was like the first time I was like, this could be a cool job, like to be in the music industry. But, past that, I obviously, in high school, I was running a skateboard company. So marketing was already something that I wanted to do, entrepreneurship. And in college, I started studying marketing officially and doing internships. And eventually led to me doing my last internship, which I wanted it to be music, no matter what. And that's sort of, we can talk about that later in the details, but that last internship I did is how I ended up working with Linkin Park, and obviously meeting Adam and then meeting you guys. So in a nutshell, that's how everything started. But skateboarding opened a lot of doors for me when it comes to friendships, learning about marketing, and also music.
Awesome. Cool. I definitely want to get into that whole thing, like how you got into an internship. Now, the internship was specifically with Linkin Park or somebody else that then put you in touch with Linkin Park?
I'll tell you sort of basically it was ended up being with Linkin Park. I originally wanted to enter for Machine Shop. At the time, the marketing agency. Now it's the management company. But I ended up working for Adam directly as his intern. So it worked out. I would have been happy either way.
How did you find like the name even Machine Shop? Were you a Linkin Park fan and you look at the record or the credits and you'd say, oh, Machine Shop, and then you'd type on the internet Machine Shop and see what comes up?
Basically, you know, like we probably don't have much of these like kids around, but as a music kid, I would read everything in that album booklet. And I mean everything. Like, so yeah, Machine Shop, recordings at the time it was called. I was definitely Googling and finding out who they were, and I'm like, oh, this is related to the band somehow. I think it's the record label, but I'm not sure. Like, I was totally Googling to connect the dots for sure.
That's amazing. I think that part of what we're missing these days in streaming of music is what you just described, the actual tangible looking at stuff and seeing, you know, names of people that are working with, you know, the band and all that kind of stuff. Like, I miss that. I really do.
And you guys should know that what Lorenzo's leaving out here is, I think, the most important detail, because I know you guys like to go into this kind of thing of, it wasn't like he just emailed me and said, yo, can I get an internship? And I said, sure. You know, like
not.
I used to get emails and tweets and from people constantly asking, they wanted to intern for Linkin Park. And I'm very protective of the band and very protective of our operation. And so I always thought, like, I'm never gonna, if someone's reaching out, like, I'm not gonna have an LPU member. Like, so Lorenzo hit me up on LinkedIn and I hit ignore. Then he would email me or tweet me or whatever, and I would ignore it. And I remember we got back from Japan and I came home and there was a FedEx envelope on my desk, and I opened it up and it's from Lorenzo, this kid. And it's a PowerPoint deck on it's like a marketing deck on like, here's what I would do. And I'm like, God, I got to call this kid now. Like, I'm going to tell him no, but I'm going to do the courtesy of calling him because he put all this work into it. And when I talked to him, the moment I started talking to him, I thought, dude, this kid is special. And I said, yo, man, when can you be here? And you were like a month later, he came out to LA from Philly for like 6 months and was my intern.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I remember Lorenzo, not at the beginning, and I don't remember what years these are. At the beginning, Lorenzo, you can fill us in. I can probably 100% wrong. I remember you just coming out to certain shows at the beginning. Like, I don't know if Adam needed help or it was a big show. And this is probably pre-Summit, maybe even pre-Summits where they needed extra help. But you would kind of come in and out on the road a little bit. Is that true? Is that where you got the start there?
Yeah, basically, I interned for Adam between 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
So at that time, the band was recording, so they weren't actually touring. They were making the album, and you know, everything led to Burn It Down coming out. And that's another story you can tell later, Adam. The Burn It Down music video. Right. My internship was coming to an end, and I remember being back in Philadelphia where I was going to college at Drexel University. And I remember going to buy Living Things, the album myself. Like I went to buy it. So I was already home, but then the Honda Civic Tour kicked off. So this is summer 2012, right? Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they picked Camden, New Jersey as the next Summit stop. And you know, I was gonna go to the show anyway, but it kind of worked out where that Summit happened to be in the backyard of Philadelphia. So I came out to help.
By the way, we picked Camden because I knew Lorenzo would be there to help out.
That's great.
God's honest
Save
truth.
on the flight.
And a lot of my friends also volunteered to help. So there were so many of them that were so gracious to help me and Adam and the band that day. But Tato, you're right. There was one more show I came out to. Basically, when I moved back to Philadelphia from LA, my flight was delayed and they had to bump me off the flight. So American Airlines owed me like a flight. So I had this gift certificate for a flight. And I was like, all right, well, I guess it's a free flight to California. I'll save it. So I'm like, the band announced the Power of the World show at the House of Blues. That's no longer there, unfortunately, in West Hollywood. And I was like, Adam, this is crazy, but I have this free flight. And I've never got to see the behind the scenes of a Linkin Park show. And Adam knew that's something I was interested in, but the band was just in the studio, so there was never a chance to do that. So he's like, dude, if the flight is covered, like, yeah, come out. So I took that voucher, flew to LA, and Adam let me help out at the Power of the World show. So that was my
was
first
that for the
actual,
light bulb?
Yep.
The light bulb.
The light bulb.
Yeah, totally.
And the
So that was
soccer
my
ball
first-
too, right? The soccer ball
Yes,
or whatever.
Yeah, the solar
Yep.
suitcases, all that great stuff that Music for Relief has been doing for many years.
And you know what's funny, Pooch, is I think you're thinking about me, because for a long time I would pop in and out of shows for 2 years before Jim said, just stay on tour with us. But I did that for a long time, where I would just fly to London, fly back, fly to Germany, fly back, fly to Tokyo, fly back. Like, I did that for a long, it was exhausting.
I know Jim's watching.
I do
today,
remember
think.
that.
Let's
Yeah.
give him a shout out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to bring this up real quick, because it doesn't matter if you're in, audio, lighting, video. When me and Pooch started, there was no fan engagement like that goes on now, because there was no internet, there was no cell phones, there was no just type the band's name, and everything was way more secretive, because you couldn't get the information like you can now, and your jobs weren't even thought of back then. So the technology, which is expanded, has led to your jobs, and you guys became masters of them, and it eventually led into these summits. Now, I know we wanted to get into this a little later, but everybody's blowing everything up about these summits. So let's get into these summits.
I'll give you the story on the summits is...
Yeah, so tell us where it started, Adam.
Sure.
Like whose idea was it, and all that kind of stuff.
The summits came about because in 2010, the band put out 1,000 Suns, and at the same time, we decided to completely redo the fan club. For a variety of reasons. We decided to take it and put it on a whole new web platform. We got rid of the packages because we wanted it to be more about experiential stuff. And to be frank, and the guys, I think it kind of backfired. We did it, and we were like, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. Mike, being Mike, thought, we have to make this right. Like, we have to make this right. And I think he's the one who came up with this concept of, let's do a thing where we bring the fans out to the venue for the entire day. They go out and play soccer one day. Then they get to go on stage. They get to play our instruments. And that was Mike's idea. And I don't know when he came up with that, then we talked to Jim, and I just happened by pure coincidence to be going to London for a trip for myself for that first summit at the exact same time. And so I said, well, I'll be there. Let's go. And so when we go, we went to London, did the first one in 2010. And I was telling my wife about this the other day. I said, I will never forget that it was 2 shows. And the first show
at the O2, right?
At the O2, yeah. I will never forget being backstage, and Jim gathers all of you guys in the room, and I'm back there. I don't know any of you guys. I knew of Pooch a little bit, and I will never forget Jim going through it and everyone just like, this is our day off. And I remember looking at Pooch, and you just looked like you wanted to be doing anything else, because and I was like, oh my God, these guys are going to hate me. These guys are going to hate me. And then you know what? We did that first day, and I won't speak for you, but everyone had fun. It was
oh my God, everyone had the greatest time, dude. I'm telling you, we all went, wow, that was so amazing.
And I think the fans were super respectful. I don't know if we knew, you guys deal with the fans all the time. We don't, we're very limited with that engagement. And you guys knew the fans, from talking to them face to face all the time and hearing from them. We don't know what they're like. Yeah. And they were very respectful. And I think that opened the whole crew's eyes of, hey, these aren't that bad. These people were all respectful. Everybody was well-mannered, and it became actually a great thing, I thought, in the fan engagement. I just know that's what happened when I was a kid going to concerts, and I could have been able to do that. Well, my life would have changed, you know what I mean, at that moment, and I would still be talking about it right now. But that stuff wasn't available. So those kids will probably remember that forever.
Absolutely. And it was so cool. And after we did it, Mike was like, we're doing another one in a month in Sydney, get ready. And then after that, we're doing another one in Chicago, get ready. And then we're doing another one in Germany. And then we did Tokyo. We did 5 in a year, which was insane. It was so stressful and it was exhausting, but that's how those things came. It was Mike Shinoda's idea. And then I just kind of ran with it with Jessica, who was my boss directly, and Jim was so vital. And I mean, those things wouldn't have happened without Jim Digby. Like,
yeah, totally,
no
totally.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So there must be, it must have felt like, you know, you guys, both of you guys having come up in this marketing kind of era. I would think that like the one band that you would want to work for is Linkin Park, because, you know, they always seem like they were on a cusp of technology and a cusp of marketing. You know, the reason that Korn and Limp Bizkit and all of those other bands that surrounded Linkin Park during the same time didn't survive. I mean, they're still around, but nothing like what Linkin Park is because they were, you know, this big, huge marketing machine. Like, tell me how that was for both of you, like to start working for that. That must have been like a marketing guy's dream, right?
I think Lorenzo and I are going to have very different answers. I know we will, because I knew nothing about Linkin Park when I started working for them. Didn't own a CD, didn't own a song.
Wow.
In my
Wow. Okay.
nothing. I was into punk rock. I loved Blink-182 and the Get Up Kids and Saves the Day. Like, those were my favorite bands of all time. But once you get into that Linkin Park ecosystem, it's very evident the first time you meet Brad Delson that these guys are on a different level. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I will never forget meeting Brad for the first time and thinking like, this guy's a genius. Like, this guy is a genius. And I don't know that I'll ever be on the same wavelength as him, but what an opportunity to learn from a guy like him and Mike and all the other guys. So yeah, you're right. But Lorenzo probably has a different.
You bring up a great point that a lot of people don't know. You know, Mike is kind of always the face of Linkin Park, and he's brilliant and amazing, but kind of the behind the scenes guy that doesn't like, you know, put himself forward is Brad. And he's like totally, you know, the puppeteer behind the scenes, you know, like running the whole thing.
I always like when the six like would sit in chairs and do interviews and stuff. And, you know, Chester and Mike obviously get the most questions, all that stuff. But if you listen to Brad's little short answers, for very few words, it meant a lot. And sometimes they're quite funny.
So Lorenzo, tell us your experience. Like, you were a fan coming into this, right?
Yes. It's no secret. I'm a big Linkin Park fan. Always have been. And it kind of goes back to my skateboarding days. And, you know, at the time, alternative music and skateboarding had a moment. You know, I think early on it was like punk rock, that post-punk kind of like Joy Division kind of music. But, you know, I had a moment where skateboarding culture and alternative music sort of were, you know, blended. And I was actually, I'll never forget this. I was in my friend's car with his mom. They were driving us back from this indoor skate park in this town outside Philadelphia. And this song comes on, and, you know, the little piano. And I'm like, oh, I like that song. And then like, I asked my friend, like, what was that? They're like, oh, I think it's called In the End or something. And so I go home, and I don't even remember, I think on MTV, the In the End video came on. And for some reason, I could not remember the name of the song. Like, In the End is such a short thing, but I could not remember it. So because there's a scene in the End music video where the rain just pours down on the band while they're playing, and there's this like awesome scene of like Rob playing drums, completely wet, Mike and Chester doing their thing. Everyone's soaked in the music video. And I'm like, the rain song. I called it the rain song. So for the longest time, like that stuck with me. But anyway, I asked for the CD for Christmas and I got it. And that was kind of like how I got hooked into Hybrid Theory. And, you know, my music taste has been all over the place since. You know, I was listening to pop music too, but I really liked that album, you know. And so as I continued to grow up and learn things, learn marketing, just like you guys said, like the marketing edge Linkin Park has always had, stuck with me. So when I was studying the subject and I knew an internship had to be done for school credit, I'm like, well, there's really the best people to learn music marketing is Linkin Park. Like, yeah, I love their music, but seriously, if I want to be hands-on and as a student and learn, like, sure, I can go to a record label. I actually, and Adam knows this, when I sent him that FedEx package he mentioned earlier with the PowerPoint presentation and the letter, I was actually at my final round interviews for Sony Records, RCA in New York. and they had already sort of like made it clear that they liked me as a candidate for the internship, and if I was interested, they would be happy to like discuss final details. But I was like, well, you know, the school calendar about when you're supposed to offer jobs is now for another 2 weeks. So I have 2 weeks to do independent research. So I could have, in the end, no pun intended.
So you blew up Adam for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, it was definitely blowing up Adam for several weeks. But I could have gone to Sony RCA, and it probably would have been awesome. But I knew, just because I was a fan of marketing and the band, that like, man, I need to learn from Linkin Park and whoever works with that band. That's what I need to learn from. So I made it my mission to try and get that opportunity. Which,
so you could see there that Linkin Park had that kind of vision, and you knew that they were a step of the other bands in that vision, and that's why you wanted to go and really get an internship there.
Totally, and I think it hit me the hardest in terms of the marketing thing when I actually did a street team mission.
Street team.
Yeah, I signed up for the street team, and I remember they sent me all this stuff for Minutes to Midnight, and I went to like CD stores to like replace the sticker on the CD, and then I handed out actual Linkin Park stickers at the movie theater because they had a Minutes to Midnight special for the movies. You know, I did these things, and I saw how it brought everyone together. I've never seen anything like it, you know. At concerts, sure. But
I just want to go and say my post-punk era is 1980, 81, just to clarify the record.
Mine too. When I was a skateboarder and a kid, it was more like, you know,
so
I was listening to bands like Minor Threat and
like Ian MacKaye, Minor Threat. Yeah. I mean, I wish I was around. I wish I was around when that stuff happened.
I just want to make sure we think everybody that's listening and watching, we don't have to explain what the summits are, the street teams or anything. Everybody probably knows. We don't have to go into depth on that and everything. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. That's amazing. You know, I just want to point out, and it can't be stressed enough, you know, I think a lot of people come to this because maybe they want to know about an experience that our guests have had and how they got to where they are. And, you know, I'm telling you guys, don't give up. If you have a dream about something, Lorenzo is a perfect example of not giving up. And there's a right way to do that, to be so that you're not pestering the hell out of somebody, but also a way to, you know, really show them that you're super interested. You know, I have a guy, I say he's a kid. Well, he is a kid compared to what I am, but he's a guy that has pestered me for like a year and a half about me becoming a mentor to him. And finally, after like a year and a half, I finally went, okay, fine, you know. And now he's come a long way and is you know, a front of house engineer in this business and is doing, you know, great things, and all because he didn't give up. And I finally got to a point where I was like, you know what, let me see what's going on with this guy. So Adam, just speak to that just a little bit more about like, what was it that you saw in Lorenzo?
So, and I think that's such an important point. And I tell a lot of people this, as I say, I've opened the door or unlocked the door, I should say, for a lot of people. Very, very, very few kick that door in themselves or walk right through it themselves. Because to be honest, Lorenzo coming out for the internship's the easiest part. Now he's got to do it. And the thing with Lorenzo is I would ask him to do X, Y, and Z, and he would do that plus 10 more things that I didn't ask him to do. And he was so just, I never had to worry about what, and he would bring like amazing ideas, and it wasn't, he was, you know, he kind of mentioned this Burn It Down thing. Like, he was a massive Linkin Park fan, which was a worry before I met him. And I realized he was like so cool, you know, but like, will he react when the band's around? And we went, you know, I took him to the Burn It Down video shoot. I surprised him. I didn't tell him what we were doing. I said, hey, like, come on, you got to help me run an errand. And we went to the and we show up, and he's like, dude, what is going on? And the song wasn't even out yet. He got to hear the song before anybody. And he was so cool and so respectful. And then again, with that House of Blues show he mentioned, he flew out on his own dime for that. He helped me out. was so cool, so respectful to the fans, to the band. And then at the after party, I'm so sorry for telling the story, Lorenzo. He comes up to me. We're at the after party. He comes up to me. He goes, hey man, you think you could introduce me to Mike? And I'm like, you've never met Mike? And he's like, no, but I was like, he's like, but if not, like, it's totally cool. It's totally cool. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Come on, let's go. But that was who he was. And that's not everybody. And the other part he's leaving out is how he got with Linkin Park is when I left to go to Warner, I told them, you don't even have to interview anybody. I have the guy for you. This is the guy. You don't even worry about interviewing and get him on a Zoom call, talk to him, and you're going to know this is your guy. And when someone makes an impact like that, like he did on me, I mean, forever, I will always have this guy's back and I will do whatever I can to help him succeed. That's what, because he worked for it. And
I'll just go on to say what you guys are doing out on the road and at the back at Machine Shop and interacting with us and kind of in and out and sometimes all the time with us, but we're not working. We're working together, but we're not, in the same, you know what I mean? The same thing every day in the same trench. So I just know getting to know Lorenzo, because just because you're on the road with somebody doesn't mean you're automatically friends and automatically know them. And you don't. You might be traveling together and all that stuff. It doesn't mean you're tight or close. But Lorenzo was very easy to get to know and very respectful. And it's not easy coming into a crew of, I don't know what we had, 30 people. And, everybody's attitudes are different. And you're tired, you're beat up, and, everybody's got a different thing going on. Lorenzo was very respectful, and that came across to us and became very liked. And you said, you didn't know what Lorenzo was going to be like around the band. Well, I can tell you when he left the Mike Shinoda tour, I can tell you what it's like when he's not there. And we always want Lorenzo around. I can vouch for that.
Amen.
Yeah.
Love you guys. And Adam, thank you for everything you said. I mean, I want to echo what Pooch said earlier about not giving up. And, did I think a FedEx letter was going to eventually get Adam to call me back? No. But, I had done an internship before that with the Philadelphia Eagles. And there was a marketing insights director. Her name was Elaine. I haven't spoken to her in many years, but she was awesome. She was teaching me about data and analytics and fan engagement on that level on the sports side. And she had told me her story. Her dream was to work for Burberry. And she's like, how do I talk to Burberry? They're a brand from London. They make trench coats, they make a lot of stuff now. And she told me, like, going to traditional channels that's where all the noise is. Everyone's using those traditional channels. So think outside the box, try and do something that maybe they're not expecting. And, she had sort of inspired me and told me a similar story, how she had sent a overnight envelope to the head of human resources at Burberry in London. She was living in New York. And she told me that, it took a few months, but they called her eventually. And then she got the contact in New York to do her internship. So, I want to say that the mentorship thing, paying it forward, all that stuff makes such a big difference in people's lives. And Elaine, she didn't have to tell me her story when she was in college. I mean, she ended up working in sports, but she did that internship at Burberry, and she got to see that, wow, perseverance can very much work. So, Adam, he read my letter and called me back and gave me that shot, and I'm forever grateful. We're super tight now. We're super good friends, and we have every couple of months we get on the phone, we talk. We're just supporting each other. But if it wasn't for him unlocking that door and wanting to play that mentor card, there would be no opportunities. We have to think of the next generation. So I take that same approach now when I meet students that I get to work with at Universal, or whether sometimes people hit me up online and ask me about, how'd you get an internship with that band? Like, I'm happy to tell that story, but it takes two. It takes the person who's persevering and wanting it, right? And then it takes the receiving end, so the Adam. So if whatever position you happen to be in, just remember that.
Yeah, I mean, my interpretation of kind of like Tater said, you know, we weren't in the same trenches every single day. So I don't pretend to know exactly what was going on in your guys' world that was happening. You guys were doing all kinds of things behind the scenes, but my interpretation of that was, so Adam, it seems like Minutes to Midnight was like, you know, when the band kind of regrouped or something and said, okay, we've had lots of success, but like for this record and moving forward, we're gonna, you know, in a marketing kind of a way and also in an interaction with their fans kind of a way, we're going to, you know, step it up basically. So speak to that, because then I know the next step was then Lorenzo taking what you had built and then, you know, making it even more than that. And that, like I said, this is my interpretation of what happened. So you tell me exactly what went down.
Yeah, you know, I came on, Minutes to Midnight came out in May 2007. I came on January 2008. So right in the middle of Minutes to Midnight is when I came on. And like I said, I started off as an office assistant and as a personal assistant. And that was watering, making sure the plants were watered, making sure if the email server went down, I had to make sure it got started because the band emails were on there. So if our email server went down, Brad wasn't getting his emails. And I remember, like, on my birthday one day, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we were going to go out of town and our email server went down. I said, I got to make a pit stop in Beverly Hills. Sorry. And I went to the office, rebooted the email server so everyone could get, you know, and I'm saying this because I wasn't hired as a marketer. I wasn't hired as a digital person. When I got there, I just wanted to stay. And I slowly worked my way up. And not only that, I created that position because it didn't actually exist. I just kind of saw a need. And I said, listen, this is what I really enjoy doing. Like, just let me do this as my job. And they're like, heck yeah, yes. Someone who can like engage with our fans on our behalf. Absolutely. Like let's go, you know? So, that was the other thing too, is, you know, you've got to, and Lorenzo made the job something completely different for himself, you know? And I think that's what makes people stand out, is like seeing a need and filling it. And they had never sent a guy like me on tour before, really. And when I got put out on tour, I mean, Jim put me in the freaking backline bus. Like, what a way to go on tour for the first time. And I love those guys very much.
In case you don't know, guys out there, the backline are the guys that are the personal assistants to each band member for their, you know, musicianship on stage. It's the guitar, it's the guys that tune the guitars, it's the guys that, you know, and they're notoriously not just for Linkin Park, in every band, the backline guys are the guys that are, you know, having a really good time.
Let's just say they have the shortest hours of the day, so that's why it leads to more.
Jim telling me this and being like, Jim, what are you doing? Like, what? And I think he did it kind of on purpose to like really toughen me up.
I guarantee you he did that on purpose.
You know, and I think it ended up being a really good thing. But seriously, those guys did not trust me at all. Like, thank God for Sean Payton, who was like, this kid's cool. But the other guys were like, I think he's like, literally, they're like, I think he's a mole. I think he's reporting back to the band.
Like a management spy.
You know, and it finally, like 4 or 5 days in, they're like, all right, I think he's cool. I will let him chill with us now. But like, that was really, really hard. Like,
that's gotta be intimidating.
It's a tough thing.
Wow. Yeah.
They're just like, oh, the Twitter guy's here. Great. Like,
yeah, there goes our junk bunk. Great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man, that must have been super intimidating. You know, for us, you know, Tater and I started with bands, you know, in the late 80s, early 90s. And so by the time we got to Linkin Park, we were used to touring. That was our lives, and we'd been around. And for you guys walking into that, it must have just been unbelievable. Lorenzo, what was your experience, your first experience of like coming out on the road?
Well, I have two versions of that, because my first experience was a sort of last minute trip to Japan and Hong Kong for the summit in Hong Kong. It wasn't planned because I had just started my job a month prior, and, you know, you have to work your way up. You know, you can't just be sent on a plane to Asia. You know, so I was willing to earn my stripes. I was totally cool and respected the process. But you know, we had some changes, and basically they're like, well, who could we send that can help? And they're like, well, you know, Lorenzo is supposed to, you know, eventually become Adam. So, you know, he's learning to do that as a marketing assistant and office manager. I remember calling Adam about this, and he's like, man, like, this might be like scary for you to do, but you need to go to Jessica, who's our boss at the time, and basically tell her that you're willing to do this because of the Camden experience, that you're like, it sounds like crazy. I just started this job, but if you give me this chance, I won't let you down. So I took Adam's advice, went to Jessica's office.
By the way, Jim, I remember Jim calling me, who is this kid? Like, can I trust this guy? Is this guy cool? And I was like, Jim, he's great. He's great. I promise, he's great.
That's great.
Totally true. Totally true. And Jessica was like, I'll call the guys, you know, the band, and see what they say. And I don't know who she called exactly, but you know, she got back to me that she spoke to some of the band, and they said they were willing to give me this try. So my first trip was, I had 48 hours to basically plan everything and get on the plane, and got to Tokyo. They lost my luggage. I had no luggage for 3 days, and I remember Jim
welcome to touring. Welcome.
And the band had all these sort of appearances for Babe and Ape and all this cool stuff in Tokyo. You know, I think especially Mike and Joe absolutely love Tokyo, so they had all this stuff planned. Some was marketing with Hard Rock Cafe and launching the Music for Relief t-shirt. There was all this stuff going on, and then the summit was going to be a few days later. Our second night in Tokyo, we're in Shibuya, and Jim gives me $100 and says, I heard you have no underwear. Here we go. And I walked into like a Lawson's, which is like a 7-Eleven, and tried to buy underwear and deodorant. And like the lady at the counter was looking at me like, you're holding up the line. Like, do you know
crazy.
what you want?
Yeah.
And let's just go online and saying, if Lorenzo doesn't get his luggage in Japan, he's going to get clothes that fit, no problem. Me and Pooch use our clothes in Japan. It's a whole nother ball game. We'll just throw that out there on the record.
Yeah, and look, I got some pretty cool Babe and Ape t-shirts out of it. So I guess there's a plus side to everything. You know, those t-shirts are super expensive, and I'm a fan. But anyway, that was my first one, which again, surreal. I cannot believe that happened at such an early age and at my first month on the job. But then fast forward to 2014, when I got the opportunity to go on the Carnivore store. And again, let me highlight, this job didn't exist. Adam carved it, created it, and gave enough sort of like, hey, this can work. So the band and management could trust that having the fan club and marketing manager go out on the road. But I'll end with this as far as my early touring stories. And I do want to echo what Adam said, like meeting you guys and the crew and all that, definitely intimidating. But I just wanted to like, again, earn my stripes and sort of be cool, like with you guys. And Pooch, I actually knew who you were back in the Fort Minor tour. Because I went to watch Fort Minor play in New York. I think it was a super small tour. Yeah, like me and my friend drove there. And after the show, I just came up to you. I didn't know where front of house was. I just went to like where all the computer stuff is and the soundboards. And I was like, hey man, could I get the set list? And you were so cool, man. You gave me the set list. Like you were super nice. So like I knew who Pooch was.
Oh, that's nice.
So again, you're probably the only one that I knew in terms of as a character. Pooch, I'm gonna get to meet Pooch.
That was a weird phenomenon with this band in particular for me, for Linkin Park, and I don't get me wrong, I loved it. Was the interaction with all of us between fans. It was something new for me. I'd worked for tons of bands before this, but it just seemed like Linkin Park fans were super respectful of us, the people that worked behind the scenes for this band. And so that was something new for me. And I enjoyed that having that interaction with these guys. And I think even since Linkin Park, this is the one band. The only one that comes close to it now is Iron Maiden, and because their fans are similar in that they love everything about the band.
I can't tell you how many times we've done a Linkin Park event, wherever it is, whether we were in South Africa for the summit there, wherever. And afterwards, the people who run the venue we are at always come up to me and go, I cannot believe how nice all those kids were. I'm like, I know. It's unlike anything. Like, they are insanely respectful. They are very nice. True. I only had to throw one kid ever out of a meet and greet. One. And I found out that he wasn't even an LPU member. He won some auction. He showed up drunk, and I kicked him out. Other than that, I've never thrown a kid out of a meet and greet, which is like, that seems impossible of the hundreds of meet and greets I've done over the years, like, it says something.
Let me ask you this. Since your jobs have become maybe in the early 2000s to now, it's become a new job of having somebody on the road, like a media person, and now a digital. You got to be more than a photographer. You got to be, be able to get all the pictures posted and up. Do you see any new job? Is there anything new in the marketing area that there's going to be something else these bands are going to be doing that's going to happen after when we start doing concerts again?
Yeah, right.
If we do.
If we do.
I just feel like the model we kind of created with LP is something, and I say created, I know VIP has existed for a long time and all of that, but like
not like this.
Not like this. It wasn't like this. And I especially think now that everything's changed, like this involving fan. One of the genius things about these summits that people probably don't realize is they were 2-day long events. Sometimes we'd have 2 days of events. Day one was whatever, day two's at the venue, you're there all day, you're on. The band was only there for 2 hours, and it didn't feel that way because there was so much exciting stuff going on all day that by the time the band shows up, everyone's like, yeah, this is cool. But like, I was just playing their guitar an hour ago.
Right.
Like,
that's totally it.
You muted yourself.
Sorry, I got a phone call I just ignored. So I think there's gonna be a lot more of this kind of thing going forward, and they are gonna monetize it. We did those summits for free for the most part. So,
and I mean, obviously, going forward, at least for a little while, the fan engagement is going to have to be somewhat different coming up in the near future, I'm sure. And I'm sure you guys are right there. We're just sitting at home waiting this thing out. You guys are still working. You're at the record companies every day. You guys are strategizing this all the time, I'm sure, right? You're in meetings for it and everything right now as it's going on.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Well, and that brings us, tell us a little bit about what you do now. We've been talking a lot about Linkin Park and that kind of thing. Adam, your big title is, fan engagement and digital marketing for Warner Brothers. That's amazing, dude. Like what, obviously we know now how you ended up there, but tell us, like, what's your day-to-day now? What is it that you do?
So I've got a roster of like 20 artists that I work on, and I do digital marketing, digital strategy, whatever for all of them. And it ranges from, I still work with Linkin Park, and Mike when he does his solo stuff. I got to work through Fort Minor or whatever. But, I'm also working on Michael Bublé and Disturbed and Avenged Sevenfold and Goo Goo Dolls and Liam Gallagher. I did Kid Rock for a little bit.
Wow.
So and all those people.
It's right. So it's cool because, I get to apply a lot of what I've learned with Linkin Park for other artists, and that's kind of fun is I can really take an engaged fan base like Linkin Park and like, well, how can I apply this to Disturbed or Michael Bublé? Michael Bublé has been my favorite thing I've worked on besides Linkin Park. Like it's so different, but like it's the same deal of like really passionate fans who love this guy. And I
like that guy's story too, like where that guy came from. And I think I like Michael Bublé a lot.
Absolutely.
He came from Canada, right?
He's Canadian,
Yeah. He's Canadian, eh? And so Lorenzo, marketing operations and special projects. What does that mean?
No, that's
so I'm not the biggest fan of like titles in general, but I'm grateful for the job I have and sort of the people I get to work with. Originally when I left LP and Mike Machine Shop in 2018, the opportunity was working internationally, and I always sort of had this in the back of my mind of one day working internationally. And so the original job was actually fan engagement for the international marketing team. And international marketing, at least at the Universal Germany company, works two ways, where we have sort of artists that we come in that aren't German, and then German artists that are signed to the German company that we market outside Germany. So I sort of got to help with fan engagement on all those levels with different rosters all the time. So I don't have a roster or anything, but eventually my position evolved, and I was sort of helping with not just fan engagement, but a little bit of everything on the marketing spectrum. So to change my title, which makes more sense in terms of what I do day to day. And I will look at it like quarterback / special teams, where like I come in and collaborate with the existing marketing teams, depending on what the needs are, but definitely still have that digital marketing strategy, passion, and focus. So that's really what my job is all about. And every week is different. And that's why I really like it, and it's exciting.
That's awesome. And then, so how did you, obviously you speak Italian and English. Did you have to learn German too, to work there? Or is it an environment where you mostly speak English?
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, which means, you guys know,
I know a little.
I speak very little German. And it's not, I have to say, with anything, you need to apply yourself to really learn it. I want to, I definitely have not done the work that I need to learn the language. So that's totally on me. Not making excuses. I sort of just wanted to enjoy the first year living in Germany. And one of my first memories of Berlin is actually with Tater. He took me to this crazy grilled chicken place somewhere in Kreuzberg. And there was a bus outside. It was totally Berlin kind of place. It's a music venue. I forget what it was called, Tater, but it had checkered tablecloths. And anyway, so German is
good, wasn't it?
It was good, and I'm vegetarian now, so that was one of my last grilled chicken sandwiches I ever had.
That's awesome.
Totally. But yeah, I'm German is a work in progress. The Italian, though, I must say, it's come in handy.
I bet it has.
Definitely. Yeah, we have a lot of Italian artists that we market in Germany. So every once in a while, I get to use the Italian, whether it's for translations or just speaking with the managers or the artists. So it's kind of cool. I actually it happens rarely, but when it happens, I get super nervous because remember, I left Italy when I was 11. So I learned Italian at a 5th grade level. And it wasn't till right after I interned with Adam, I applied to study abroad in Rome because I'm I need to go back to Italy and just do some school in Italy. And I actually took Italian for business for a whole semester because I wanted to get my butt kicked in terms of all right, you can't carry on with this 5th grade stuff. You need to learn some more intense Italian. So that was really, really helpful even now when I use it for work.
I would say in this industry in general, in a broad stroke, knowing a second language of any language, definite help.
Yeah, I'm super lucky to speak Italian, and German is a work in progress, and I also love French. So hopefully one day I'll learn French too. But let's see what happens.
Let's take it one step at a time, shall we?
That's right.
Well, we're getting close here to the end, and I want to throw a couple of Q&A questions that people have been asking this whole time that we've been talking, because people love to hear their own questions being asked. But before we get to that, I want you guys to both speak to what's your recommendation of the path to get to where both of you are. What is a kid who knows nothing about what's happening? How do they get to be you? What do they go to school to learn? What do they what do you recommend that they learn in order to become, because I think there's guys out there right now that are watching this that look up to you and say, you know what, I want to be the marketing manager for Universal Music. You know what I mean? So Lorenzo,
and also, what did you miss that you'd go back and do? You know, that
yeah.
Totally. I love talking about this specifically because I think a lot of students or young people that are trying to figure out what you want to do in this specific industry, especially, you know, may want to go study music marketing specifically. Like, I've met so many people in this industry that studied all sorts of things, and actually having multiple skills, whether it's your own hobbies and applying those hobbies and those passions to your everyday work. So, you know, going to school, like, if you can do it, I know college is really expensive, especially in America. If you can go to school, I would say like a basic degree for something general, like marketing. I did a general marketing degree with entrepreneurship as a focus because, you know, I like that. But if you don't know that answer, get sort of like a foundation to learn about working with teams and group projects and responsibilities and managing like an assignment. Those responsibilities are the early ingredients for the discipline you'll need in any professional environment. But I just want to make sure that don't think you have to study specifically music industry.
Now,
actually,
let me ask one question on this, because I'm going to really show my age here. When I went to school, we really didn't have computers. So I would have thought you would have said in college, study computers. Or are you getting that computer knowledge in, you know, elementary through 12 now, that you don't need to take it in college?
Yeah, I would say that I was lucky to go to a high school where I had my own laptop. And in middle school, we were taking typing classes and computer classes once a week, you know? So I think, I mean, I have a niece and nephew who are 6 years old, and they have an iPad in their hand all the time. They're 6 years old and they know how to use an iPad and know what YouTube is at age 6, that's a whole nother conversation. But I think the digital device and consuming content and things on devices is more or less second nature for the incoming generation.
And I think so too. But I think, Tater, you were speaking specifically to like learning about coding, maybe, or
networking.
Are those like tools that you should have?
I think it's all, I mean, Lorenzo and I are both really good at, if there's something we don't know that we should, we'll just learn it. I'm pretty good on Photoshop, not because I took classes, but because I needed to
self-taught.
So I will go on YouTube and I watch a video. How do I do that? Like, there's, you know, and I think that brings me to the point to answer your other question is the way you get ahead in this industry almost doesn't, your background doesn't matter.
There that is. Yep.
It doesn't matter. You know what gets you ahead in this industry? If any job you have, you do it to the absolute best of your ability and leave it all there. Because I don't care if it's watering plants or making sure the email server worked like I did. If I would have done that job terribly, I would not be sitting here with you right now. And if you can't count on someone to water the plants, you certainly can't count on them to send them on to South Africa with one of the biggest bands on the planet. So it always blows my mind when people come in and like, well, I'm not doing that task.
Yeah.
Like, well, why? Like, I still take every task I get and I do it to the best ability I can. And I always try to think of like, I'm representing the band here. Like, I am a representative of the band. So if I do this terribly, it looks bad on them, you know? So
super well said.
Yeah, because no matter what, we ask kind of that same question to the guests we have on, and no matter what job we've talked to people about, security, lighting, sound, you know, production managing, it's always that same answer. It's not what you know.
And you know what? Lorenzo and I, neither of us had connections in this industry. I almost get a little annoyed at it too, you know, too. It's sure, but it's not. Like, my parents were teachers in a small town in Illinois. Lorenzo's from Italy. Like, you know, like neither of us had anyone hook us up. We both got here because we worked our butts off, you know? So
Yeah, and the flip side of that too is that there were someone that took a chance on you guys.
Yep.
In Lorenzo's case, it was you, Adam, but
Yep.
somebody had to take a chance on you. You built up your knowledge and all of these things coming from school, and you were you had what it took, but someone had to say, well, I think this kid's got what it takes. Right?
And you know what helps too? It helps having good people to look up to. And, we talk about the band, and of course those guys were great to look up to, but you know what? The unsung heroes of that too, Trish and Ryan and Jessica and those guys who, Ryan DeMarty is
a machine. He's not human.
The brilliance of that, and I tell him this all the time, and sometimes I think he thinks I'm messing with him, but like, I really, really look up to how that guy handles his business. And no one has a bad thing to say about the guy. And when you come up under someone like that, who just sets the example for you, that definitely helps.
Real quick, do you guys want to give any kind of shout out to Anna and anything you want to say to her if she's listening, or I don't know, she's kind of took over for Lorenzo, right? So there's another one in the chain. And, do you want to say anything to her? How is she doing? Do you guys talk to her or anything like that?
What's your advice to her?
Yeah.
Anna, the thing we like about her is she, just like Lorenzo and I, if she doesn't know how to do something, she doesn't say, do it for me. She says, how do I do it? And when she said that to me for the first time, I'm like, no, I want to learn how to do it. I was like, oh, okay, you're one of us. Like you are one of us. So she works really hard, and she's a rock star. We couldn't have done this Linkin Park 20th anniversary Hybrid Theory thing without her. Like, she was so integral in all of that. So
yeah,
fantastic to hear.
Yeah, it's amazing. Let's do a couple of questions. We've run out of time, but let's do a couple just to give them to them. And also, guys, don't forget, we're going to do an after hours here, question and answer that we end up posting in the next couple of days to our YouTube channel. So come to our YouTube channel and subscribe, and also check out the Q&A that we're about to shoot here in a little bit. But let's ask a couple of questions. And there seems like there was a bunch of questions about you guys coming up with, like scavenger hunt and puzzles and all kinds of stuff. And now I'm even seeing like the latest LinkinPark.com right now is like this amazing thing, dude. It's amazing. It's like I was digging around in it and going, what is happening? This is so great. And
the setup to it was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was
a lot.
Where did the scavenger hunt and those kind of where did those ideas come from?
So the Living Things one we did about 8 years ago. Lorenzo was there when I was kind of tasked this idea of like, we need to do some kind of puzzle scout, whatever. And so me and Lorenzo and Harold, who used to work there also, we got in the conference room, and I still have the notepad file, by the way, that says LP scavenger hunt ideas. And we just all these ideas and kind of worked it backwards, saying, we know how we want this thing to end. How do we get there? And we just came up with all these crazy ideas, and it lasted 2 weeks. And that was the first time we ever did something like that. And we really learned a lot from that. We've done a few since. And then the one you're just talking about now is this Hybrid Theory website thing. The band web, people watching this know the website looks like a computer from 20 years ago, and there's hints and clues. And I had a real basic idea for this thing months ago. And then this girl who just got hired at Warner not that long ago, Christina, I was telling her about it, and she's like, well, what if instead we did this whole thing? And then we were like, whoa. And so we just started going crazy with this
awesome
idea. And, a lot of it is we got to up our stuff from the last time. I'm not looking to match it. I'm looking to make it better. And it's funny, I haven't heard from Brad in a while, and I got a text from Brad last night saying, yo, the website. And I was like, dang, that's how I know I did a good job. If that dude's hitting me up and I haven't heard from him in a minute,
that's it, man. If you're hearing from Brad, you did it, man.
Yeah, I was pretty excited.
I know we're over time, but I'd like to ask this question. Now, the band hasn't done a live show, obviously, since the tribute to Chester at the Hollywood Bowl. What does it take to keep them? I don't want to say relevant, but to keep the name out there, keep the fans engaged, and all that stuff. Is it a harder job now? But stuff like that you just did is fantastic. It's getting great, respect and reviews and everything. But it's got to be harder, right?
So we took a very conscious approach for the last few years of like, keep it quiet, you know, like when we have something to say, we'll say it. And I don't really believe in this notion that you just need to keep it going. It's like, I don't think that's true, especially for this band. Like, listen, we're going to go away for a little bit. And then when we have something to say, you'll hear it. And then when we have something to say, it's going to make a lot more of an impact than if we were posting hashtag TBT every 4 days. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
Right.
So that's kind of very consciously kept things a little quiet up until a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, it is hard. It's not easy, but it's fun. Good challenge.
That's
both
amazing,
are future
man.
presidents of these record companies, everybody. So just wait.
Yeah, totally. Both of these guys are future presidents.
There's always those people, you know, they kind of come in and then they do a little bit and they go out and you go, they're going on to way bigger and better things.
I've been telling
Adam
people,
and Lorenzo are those people.
I've been telling people for 9 years that someday I'm going to be working for Lorenzo, and I cannot wait for that day to happen.
I think someday we're all
kind.
We're all going to be working for Lorenzo.
You're too kind. You're too kind, guys.
Well, hey, listen, guys, you know, the hour flies by so fast, and thank you guys for coming. We certainly appreciate it. And guys, don't forget to tune in for the Q&A. We have tons of questions to ask them offline here. So come back to that on our YouTube channel. Thank you again, guys, for both coming. We love you both.
We love you guys so much.
Thank you. Much
love. Really great. It's really great to catch up with you guys again. And also, guys, next week on Wrong End of the Snake is Charlie Cosmo Wilson. Cosmo has been a lighting director, designer, and touring road crew since 1986. He's worked with over 40 acts, including AC/DC, Aerosmith, Black Sabbath, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Foreigner, INXS, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Meatloaf, Motley Crue, The Rolling Stones, David Lee Roth, Scorpions, and Rod Stewart. Cosmo is highly recognized as one of the best lighting directors and designers in this business. So we're really blessed to have him next week. So all you guys that came here as Linkin Park fans, tune in next week to learn all about lighting if you like. All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot for coming, guys. We sure do appreciate it again. And go to our YouTube channel and subscribe, guys. Thank you.
And let's say we have a webcast with Mike on there too, if they want to see that.
Watch that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
definitely watch that one.
He was our 4th guest or something. I can't remember exactly.
4th or 5th guest.
Yeah, definitely watch that one.
Yeah, cool. All right, thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate it.